94.9 The Rock, GTA's rock station. It's Bob, a little web exclusive. We'll play some clips on the air from this, but we're heading into the long weekend, and I thought I would invite my friend Mark Donaldson in. Mark is a wine expert. I've known him for many years. We've been, I don't know how many different radio stations we've done this on now, but thanks for coming in, Mark.
You're welcome, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Mark is working for a company called STEM Wine Groups. Or STEM Wine Group Incorporated. We'll talk about what they do in just a little bit. But first, I found different places along the way. People can get a little bit into their own heads about wine and get a little bit, intimidated by the whole idea of wine. People, May 2-4 is, again, 2-4 of beer, right? Yeah, it's the beer weekend.
Absolutely.
But I'm here to say there's wine to be had this weekend.
Wine is, don't be afraid of it. It's funny how in North America and in Canada we have a real weird attitude towards. I just got back from Italy, and I've been to Europe a few times, and it's working man stuff. I mean, you go to a truck stop and you drink a glass of wine. There's
amazing.
It's
there's no pretension attached to it at all. Whereas we have this pretentious idea.
Yeah, exactly. And so think of its utility more than its the pretentiousness of it, because once you kind of break down the barriers and just accept that it's a food,
it's a whole food group.
It's a whole food group. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Just try as much as you can. Talk about it with your friends. If you see something that you like, recommend it.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to explore, because there's hundreds of countries that produce hundreds of different kinds of wine. So there's really an astounding amount of variety out there. And if you have a certain sort of idea of what you'd like to drink, there's probably a wine out there waiting for you. You just have to find it.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, there's, I think we've talked about this before. I think I've had every bottle at the LCBO that's under $15. I think every bottle of red, at least. I think I've tried it. I'm pretty sure.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that is really, it used to be that there was some wine that you had to kind of watch out for when all of the wine was very commercial from the LCBO, but they've done a pretty decent job at cultivating a good portfolio of stuff that's under $15, especially for the generalist. And then if you want to spend a little bit more money, you can go to vintages, but there's still a decent amount of wine in that $15 to $20 range. But for everyday stuff, you know what? There are really, really great wines under $15 and even under $10.
There's a few, yeah.
There's a few, yeah.
There's a few. Good I call those Wednesday wines.
Tuesday night wines.
Exactly.
And don't, if you're noshing on pizza or burgers or ribs or anything like that.
Which most of us, that's what we eat on Victoria Day weekend.
That's, you can, with 2 or 3 different kinds of wines, you can practically cover everyone's likes and dislikes. Plus, it's going to be wine that will match whatever it is you're eating. So, I've gone now to, because it's gotten warm, pink wine, rosés, and with pizza. And I think that rosé is the dry ones from Europe and from Ontario are perfect, because they're like little Zambonis. They go in, they kind of clean your palate up in between, in between bites. And a lot of them are just absolutely delicious. So that's where I'm going right now with wine for the long weekend. But what I brought to start off with is one of my absolute favorite things, and this is another one of those things that I think is probably one of the most underappreciated and underutilized styles of wine, and that's just bubbles. Yeah,
all bubbles.
And so I brought a Prosecco here that we sell for at STEM Wine Group for $15 and change. Most Proseccos in and around that $13, $14, $15 range at the LCBO are all really good quality. Just the thing that's weird about Prosecco is that it comes in different styles. So this one that I'm going to open up right now, let's listen for it.
There we go.
Actually, reverb on that one.
That's all right.
It hit the.
We'll fix it in post.
Oh, that's funny. There's some really excellent Kava as well at the.
And Kava's from Spain, right?
That's a sparkling wine from Spain. Yeah, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. Perfect.
when we talk about sort of champagne as the general word that people use for sparkling wine, but real champagne comes from a region in France called Champagne. But the method that they use to make the wine is used in other places in the world. Prosecco is a little different. They get the bubbles into the wine in a sort of more cost-effective way, so it's nowhere near as expensive as
that's
champagne.
interesting.
Yeah, it's called the Charmat method.
Right, it comes at a different point in the distillation.
It's at the end, and it's actually done in bulk, and then it's bottled instead of done in the bottle. So they can make it a little less expensive. Prosecco is from northern Italy, and it's a really sort of beautiful. The bubbles.
The bubbles.
The grape that is Prosecco is Gala. It's actually renamed Prosecco recently.
Oh, really?
So that the grape is now the same as the region. So you can say Prosecco, and you're actually talking about
that is the name of the grape now.
It's the name of the grape.
Okay, because it's one grape. It's not a blend. It's not.
And then this one on the back label says Vino Spumante, which just means sparkling wine in Italian. And then it says extra dry, and you can taste that on the palate.
Absolutely.
It kind of tastes like not like 7-Up, but a little bit, right?
It's got a Sprite kind of feel to it. Absolutely, yeah.
There's like lemon, lime, a little bit of but a grapiness to it. So it's like if you mixed something with a little bit of ginger ale or something, it's got that spritziness to it. It's lively. It's got really nice acidity. The beautiful thing about this, and with other sparkling wines, is they're generally about 11 or 12% alcohol. So, breakfast wine.
Breakfast wine. I like it.
This is an amazing. Yeah, like you'll have a little glass of wine with breakfast and just some cheese and meat. It's not. You don't have to wait to the middle of the day even. You can actually start first thing in the morning with a glass of Prosecco.
Do you hear that? You hear that, Doug? Do you hear that, Doug Elliot? I can start with this, okay?
This is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then at the very end, if you're like, you might not be too sure of what you want, just something to kind of refresh your palate again, that the idea of the Zamboni coming in, and it just goes around and cleans things up. And that's a really wonderful wine, and that will go with just about anything. So
and this is $15, $16.
And this is called Serenissima Prosecco from Italy, and we sell this. We'll sell this directly to consumers through our consignment warehouse. So you need to visit the warehouse or visit the website, and you can order it through Stem Wine Group.
Right, but you were nice enough to share that there's a whole bunch out there in the LCBO as well. But if you want to buy, for a case, that's a good deal. I mean, $15 and you can hold this up, against some champagnes. I mean, I find if you're you don't need to spend $60, $75 to impress with a bubbly.
It's easy to do. Yeah, Segura Viudis is one that we like.
Right, the Spanish Kava. That one's
they're friends of ours, and that's a really great little wine for about $15. And what's happening now at the LCBO is the Proseccos, because it's going into springtime and summertime, a lot of them are on sale. Yeah. So pick the one that's on sale.
And you're probably going to be all right.
$13 and you're okay.
Well, that's great. So let's start off with bubblies this weekend is the idea. Saturday morning, nice little bubble.
Yep. And the other thing too, and I know it's maybe the hair of the dog that bit you, but where are you at 5:30 in the morning on Saturday? You might end up having breakfast somewhere that you're not. Anyways, but you can mix this with orange juice or with any kind of.
We all did the mimosas for Mother's Day last weekend, and this is perfect for it.
It's perfect, absolutely. And it's because it's a little grapey. It's dry, so you're going to get the fruit and the sweetness from the juice, and it's a really nice way to start the day.
Absolutely.
If you're not a Caesar person,
right?
The other
it's a different way to go.
The other go-to drink for
mornings
is a little orange juice and.
We did it last weekend. I actually the Hinterland in Prince Edward County makes some great bubbles that we're enjoying quite a bit.
That's the other place to look. In Ontario, we have some really good quality ones that are being made in the bottle, which are going to be about $30, $40. Yep. And then there's a bunch kind of around the $20 range, which are done in the same method as a Prosecco.
The Cremant, right.
So the Cremant. So it's just a more affordable way of doing it. And get out there and support our local folks. Speaking of which,
yes, let's move on.
If there is a wine that thinks it's a beer, it probably could be Riesling. And in Ontario, we do really great Riesling in Niagara, and especially along the Beamsville Bench in and around Grimsby. And then there's a lot that's grown sort of down towards Niagara on the Lake as well. This is a winery called Pond View.
Yep, Pond View. Hold it up there for our friend.
They're in Niagara on the Lake, and they make most Ontario wineries and Niagara wineries make two styles. They make a dry Riesling and an off-dry Riesling, or a semi-sweet Riesling. It gets confusing because there's no actual term.
Right.
So,
and it's all based on how many grams of sugar are in the per liter type thing.
Yep,
That's what it is.
That's exactly what
now,
it is.
the sugar's not added.
No, the sugar's not fermented out, so it's just left. If you ferment all the sugar out, you get a drier wine. I like the ones that have a little tiny bit of residual in them, because I think that Riesling has a lot of acidity, and you need to have a little bit of sweetness in it to help balance it out.
Right.
And the balance is what makes this just quaffable or drinkable.
Yes.
And it's got that kind of little bit of it's not that it's sweet, but it's not completely dry. And in Ontario, our nose for reasons, lots of apples and flowers.
Very different than the obviously.
And it smells a little bit like the Niagara Escarpment. You know, it's got
true.
that kind of limestone.
Hiking along the Niagara Escarpment.
The Bruce Trail. That's what it smells like.
That's true.
And that's funny. We talk about something called terroir, which is what the grape smells like, where it comes from. And this smells like Niagara. Like
absolutely.
Like the Maid of the Mist.
It's the Maid of the Mist in a glass.
So, and on the palate.
There you go.
There's a Slurpee.
Yeah.
So you have all the stuff that's on the nose comes through on the palate, right? You get a little apple, some flowers, maybe peachy.
Maybe a little pear.
A little pear
in there.
A little honey.
Now this is where people get a little like, oh, here they go with their wine, with their this.
Yeah.
But you alluded to, you said if there's a wine that thinks it's a beer, it's Riesling. What do you mean by that?
Because it's refreshing. It's got a little bit. It's very drinkable.
Yep.
And most people like it. You know, beer has a little bit of sweetness to it. It's
Absolutely.
got the effervescence and everything.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's got a little bit of fruit and sweet.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
You know, beer connoisseurs, there are dry beers, but generally speaking,
there's a bit of sweetness to it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and so if you're thinking I'm talking more sort of lager like than ale like.
Lager, pilsners.
Pilsners.
Yeah.
And it's bright, it's refreshing, it's got nice acidity, but it's really well balanced. And it will match, because it's got that little bit of residual sugar in it. It goes with everything. And it likes salty junk food. So if you're like,
I could see this with a bag of salt and vinegar chips.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Or just have it out on the back deck with a bowl of chips out there.
Yep.
That would they'd really offset each other nicely.
If your favorite flavor is ketchup, that's okay.
Ketchup chips too.
There's no judgment.
I actually met an American recently who had never had ketchup chips.
Oh, yeah, they don't
have
see
it.
them.
Yeah.
No, but they're like this. That's a really decent sort of all rounder. That one, like I said, it's from Pond View Estate Winery in Niagara. It's available at the LCBO, and we have it as well through.
See, I like that. See, I would never go to that. I've always been a Sauvignon Blanc if I was going to go white, because But that is really nice.
And all along the bench, there's places like Cave Spring, Henry of Pelham, great producers.
And that's actually LCBO. You can get your Pond View at your it's a general listing.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
So
that's
going
good to know.
the good news is that there's most of the LCBO stores have a really great VQA section in them. So as long as it says VQA on the wine, it comes from Ontario. If it doesn't have a VQA sticker on it, it can come from elsewhere.
California or all kinds of
different. But we do a good job at making Riesling. So, and I think that's just a great example of a quaffing wine, of a wine that you could drink, Sunday afternoon and sit around. And it's sort of like pre-barbecue, but if you wanted to do chicken and barbecue sauce, that wine will still go.
So let's do let's do two more if possible. I know you got a few more out there, but let's do two more, and I do want a barbecue recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, so this is everyone's other favorite grape, and this is Pinot Gris. So
right.
Pinot Grigio. It actually lives in France, in the Alsace region. In northern Italy, it's made all over the place, and and we do some decent stuff here in Ontario.
And
as well.
this is going to sound like the wine snobby thing, but I've always found, generally speaking, I find Pinot Grigio is a little too thin sometimes.
That's not the case with this one.
Oh, there you go. See?
It's depending on where it is. The ones that you're used to buying, the mass commercially produced ones, they're in around sort of 12% alcohol. And they're pretty light, and they're
light. That's a better word, I suppose.
Pretty
Yeah,
tart
it'd be like if we were doing the beer comparison, it'd be a light beer versus a full alcohol
and
beer.
that's not the grape's fault. That's the producer's fault. So the person making the wine has just decided to pick the grapes early. Mass production, pump up the volume. There's not a lot of flavor in there. This Pinot Grigio is. You can actually see the color. It actually looks like a rosé sort of color.
It does actually.
A little bit of pink to it. The grape is gray because when it fully ripens, that's the color of it. It's kind of almost like a light purple color. Oh. And if you press it, that's the color that you get. And this has got really beautiful kind of summer stone fruit and stuff on the nose, which is really kind of attractive. This is called schmecking.
Is that what it's called, schmecking?
Yeah. And
I love it.
And that has really nice balance. It's got good flavor profile in there, and really, really, what I love about this wine is that it's a little drier than the Riesling, and it's not oaked. So for long weekend, for again utility wine, those other varieties that like Pinot Grigio that they're really good quaffing wines. They don't need a wine glass with a stem. They need a tumbler. And just drink.
Just enjoy it.
Enjoy it. And it doesn't need.
Don't overthink it.
No, this is. Yeah. Some wines are when you get up into more expensive wines and more concentration, they demand a little bit more attention. That sort of level of Pinot Gris. There's a few other the Riesling Gewürztraminer blends that they do, or dry Riesling. The job is just to provide sort of a vehicle for eating your food.
Well, I could taste this with like a crab dip or something. With dill or like one of those things.
I'm grilled chicken Caesar wraps with this. It's like
perfect.
Caesar salad. And that's the other thing. This weekend we're going to be probably into a lot of those sort of pasta salads and potato salads.
Right. Hopefully the weather holds up and we can actually do that. But exactly that.
And things that have vinegar in them. Vinegar, and so think of a potato salad. It's got a little bit of that.
Yep.
That doesn't play well with Riesling so much, but it does a little bit. But it really goes well with a Pinot Grigio. Yeah,
I think the whole point here is that you can like what you like, and don't be embarrassed by what you like. You know what I mean? People can like whatever they want to like, and if you can find something to attach to it that works, tell people, have fun with it. You know?
Absolutely. There's a lot to explore, and there's a lot to try, and by not taking the jump, you're missing.
I agree. Well, I've been a convert for a long time. There was that time you put me on a sailboat, and I made the sailboat stop. That's a whole other story. All right.
Oh boy, yeah.
Remember that one?
Or the gourmet 20-course meal at the Old Mill.
That was oh my gosh, I forgot about that one. All right, it's a little too inside now. All right, so we're coming up on barbecue time now. Maybe we got something on the grill. We're pouring out a rosé now. Rosés have been interesting because they're right at the front of the LCBO right now. We've got this one right here, Josh. We want to take. Thank you. Okay. They're right as you come in. They've got they've done something different at the LCBO. Normally it's by region, but for the rosés they've got them all together.
The LCBO has seen the opportunity for sales with growth, particularly in dry rosé wine. And it's not just a trend at the LCBO. It's a national trend, and it's a trend in places in the States. People are discovering that, I think the perception is that it's all blush and pink wine is sweet.
Yes.
And in that...
and there's a market for that. There's a place for that. People can have their wild vines and their different things.
And white Zinfandel has a place in that. It's often the wine that people transition from, fun drinks, let's call them, into wine. It's like the first time.
That's true. Yeah. From from mixed drinks, from that or those white spirits like the rum, rum or peach schnapps when you're a kid or all those things. And then the first wine you do is a white. That's true. It's an entry level.
It's getting you cutting your teeth, and then eventually that leads to a really bad place. But it's just a good place to transition into. We used to use like Beaujolais as the transition wine, but that was a long time ago. But the off dry pink wines from America serve a purpose. But then once you get past that, there's a whole variety of wines that are drier. They're drier, but they still maintain their fruit. The thing that you have to be careful with, and this is one of the reasons that White Zinfandel is so popular and worked out, is because they didn't ferment all the sugar out. So you ended up with a 12% alcohol wine with 3 or 4
really high sugar count.
If you ferment it out, you get these dry rosés, which are 13 or 14% alcohol. So they're as high in alcohol as a big red wine. And that's what they are. I mean, most of these are made from grapes that are red grapes. And if you squeeze a red grape, the juice that comes out of the middle is white.
Right.
And it's sort of like making tea. You just take the tea.
But how long you steep it, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a short steeped tea. And these wines get a night from like sort of a rusty, brassy pink color.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch see the three of them.
Bright, vibrant pink color for
this. Is super bright.
And this is made from a grape called Tempranillo from Spain. Mm-hmm. And that's if you've ever heard of the wine called Rioja, or a lot of big red wines from Spain are Tempranillo based. Yeah. And so this is they just squeeze the grape, let it sit for a couple of hours on the skins, press it off, and you end up with all the sort of the flavor of the juice, but with just a little bit of a tinge of the red pink.
Immediately smell like strawberries. Oh yeah, like right up front. Yeah. It's crazy how much.
Yeah, and
how much you get berries out of this.
And it's fun. I mean, it smells. The problem with it is there might be a little bit of a disconnect because you smell sweet,
and it doesn't taste anywhere near as sweet.
Dry.
Now, you had said to me off the air about rosés, and I'm a big fan of rosés. The first time I was lucky enough to go to France, it was a heat wave, and they're not. And we're going to the little corner stores and buying €3 bottles of rosés, and they were amazing. Oh, yeah. But you said like you shouldn't be paying us.
No, this is there. Like you said, there's that section now at the LCBO that have rosés. There's also rosés in the individual countries which are carried all year round.
Right.
But they've sort of collected them all together. There are some really great ones under $15.
Yeah, you don't have to pay through the nose for.
Don't get suckered into paying $25 or $30 for
on a rosé.
Unless you're like unless you know what you're doing and you're like you want to have wine from a specific region in the south of France, like a Tavel, where you need to spend that much money.
Sure.
That's
not me.
This is what we're going for here. Is cheap and cheerful.
Yeah.
And again, I use the word quaffing. It's a wine that you can drink and there's not a lot of pretension.
Yeah. There's no pretension with this. Like, I mean, you just look at it, it's fun. I mean, it looks like, I mean, yes, it's not as sweet as you would expect it to be, but it's terrific.
Well, and again, I said earlier, it's one of my favorite pizza wines now because it's got that bright kind of freshness to it. It's got a little acidity, but it's got a lot of body to it too. It tastes like something. And that's when you talk about utility wines. You can go to a truck stop in Spain, and this is the wine that they're drinking.
Find it interesting. They're truck stops. Yeah. It's truck stops that the people are drinking their wine. Be aware when you're driving around Spain.
You'll drive by the hookers on the side of the road. They actually have like these little sort of kiosks.
Really?
And then the next stop will be a little truck stop.
Well, it makes sense. You have a few drinks, realize, wait a minute, I need to before I make my delivery.
So it's just a totally different space. And and this one is Buyanda. It's from Rioja in Spain, and it's a wonderful.
What do you guys sell that for?
$16.99.
Yeah. So let's talk quickly. We're almost a half an hour in here. So as we can do, this happens all the time with Mark and I. Let's talk about how. Okay, so we know that your Pond View is an LCBO listing. People can go to the LCBO, get themselves a Pond View.
Yep.
But the other stuff, they got to go to your website.
Yeah, absolutely. So go to STEM Wine Group website. There's a price list that you can have a look at there. Browse through it. Then you can actually purchase online. So you can put your information in on the website. And order. They have to order by a case. So and bottles are in 6 or 12 case.
Yeah, I saw that lots. I saw the bubbly. It was by 6.
By 6s.
This is great.
6 times 15. So and if you buy 2 cases, we'll deliver it to your house for free.
Amazing.
So it's a different way of getting wine than is available at the LCBO all the time.
Right.
A lot of people sort of they plan ahead a little bit, and they'll do for like a long weekend. They'll
have a little gathering or something. You know, if you're gonna have a bunch of friends over or whatever, you got a christening or something coming up, and
absolutely.
You're gonna
weddings and all those sort of like larger events where you need a few cases of wine, and there's we have a really fun portfolio. There's a lot of different wines.
It's a big one. I'm looking at there's a lot of different things.
7 pages long.
Yeah, it's great. Well, Mark Donaldson, thank you for kind of pulling the shades back a little bit on wine. I'm always trying to extol the virtues of wine at 11 in the morning.
Hey, hooray, 11.
Exactly. There you go. So Mark Donaldson, wine expert, STEM Wine Group it's called. You can get them there. You can always email us or email me, bob@therock.fm. Thank you very much, and have a great long weekend, Mark, and I hope to do this again soon with you.
Thank you. You too.